Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of Tech Pixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And today we're doing something really unique for International Women's Day. We've got our social media intern, Srijal Patel, and she's going to interview me instead of me interviewing her. So, Srijal, I'm going to pass it on to you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Joy. Yes, I've got some quick fire questions for you, all about women and your views on that and International Women's Day. So we want to have some really cool questions and find out what inspires you and things like that. So, shall I start?
Let's start.
Okay. So, who inspires you, Joy?
Oh, gosh, there's so many people that inspire me. I would say in the business world, the person who really inspired me once I knew who she was and what she had done in her life is Dame Stephanie Shirley. And she is just absolutely amazing. She was a child during World War II that was on the Kindertransport. She came over to England as a child who was fleeing the Nazis. And, she, as a young girl, she understood that her life was worth saving, but then because she was saved, she had to spend her life giving back and making the world a better place. So she created a business in the 1960s for women working from home at their kitchen tables coding. So they coded things like
Wow.
the black box, etc. But also she was raising a child who had severe autism, really major challenges. So here's a woman who just overcame so many obstacles and challenges. She herself even had a breakdown as she was going through all of it, came out the other side and built a business that's now worth £3 billion. And I just have so much respect for the challenges she faced and how she overcame them all and kept going. So Dame Stephanie Shirley would be top of my list in terms of who inspires me from a female business perspective.
Okay, that's really great. We'll have to look at that. What makes you feel empowered as a woman?
Ooh, do you know it's really funny?
Mm.
Growing up, I used to wish I was a boy.
Ah, okay.
And, I was not, in fact, it's really funny because last night I was looking at my messages and a friend of mine from high school from years and years ago, she sent me a picture of me in the yearbook. And I had, really curly hair and everything else, but I was totally dressed like a guy. And I remember I was, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I do some work part-time at my daughter's school. And I was looking at all the girls in their skirts and everything else. And I was thinking, would I have been the girl in skirts or in trousers? Because they allow girls to wear trousers now.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I would have been the girl in trousers. I did not like skirts. I did not like dresses. Even to this day, I will put them on and wear them, but I'm not comfortable in them. And so there's a part of me that I just always wanted to be a guy. So I don't know that I felt empowered as a woman for a very, very, very long time. And even as a woman now, we're talking 2023, and I'm talking about it from the business perspective of building a business, getting access to capital, getting access to investment.
Mm.
I didn't think it was that challenging until recently, where we've been putting ourselves back out there again, and it's just been hard. It's just hard and hard and hard, and it just sometimes you just think, it's so hard. I just wish I was a guy, but. I had this just for an example. I know a guy who raised £500,000 to build a business that was your friends make your alarm clock for you. Like they could send you messages and that would wake you up. And there's nothing wrong with
Okay.
that. It's just that try and raise 500,000 for a business that changes lives, helping women going back to work, or raise 500,000 for an alarm that wakes you up. Which one
Yes.
do you
Yeah.
invest in? And
Yeah.
that was the frustrating thing. But the thing I think that makes me the most empowered as a woman, and this came to me in my 30s when I had my children. Uh, you know, it is still
Yes.
biologically only possible for a woman to have a child. And that is a very special experience. Even if my pregnancies were rocky and I was throwing up the whole time, having that deep connection with a child that's in your body, that I never could have imagined what that was going to be like. So I think being a mother, being able to have children, that was very empowering for me. And I want to just acknowledge that I know not everyone listening to this podcast has been able to have children.
Yes.
We work with a lot of women at Tech Pixies who have not been able to, for many, many reasons, have have not been able to have children. So I want to acknowledge that, because that's just what made me personally feel empowered
Yeah.
as a woman. But I know that that's not the reality for every woman out there. So I want to acknowledge that and just make sure that it's we don't connect the biological aspect to being a woman. I have an amazing interview I did with Nikki Take, who's a trans woman. And, what makes her feel empowered is, being able to put on eyelashes and lipstick and nails and do her hair. And, the other day I messaged her and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm getting my extensions put in," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's just so awesome and so feminine in something that she really wants to do." And I said, "I'm sort of jealous of your life because, I could never handle hair extensions." But for her, who she was a man, the thing that makes her empowered is feeling beautiful and doing her hair and makeup and then also just crushing it. She's an incredible sales expert. So, but she feels more powerful as a sales expert as a woman than she did as a man, because she brings the feminine qualities. So, one of those feminine qualities is collaboration, not competition. I'm a huge
Yes.
fan of
Yeah.
huge fan of that. So I think that's also empowering when women collaborate together, and we see that happen in the Tech Pixies community all the time.
It's great. It really is great. But going back to what you said, when you were younger, you felt perhaps more like a tomboy. My daughter's in the same boat. She wears the trousers at school, not the dress. What would you say to girls, young people like that, who, what would you say to them? And it kind of leads me on to my next question: is what's the most important message you want to give to your daughter?
Yeah, don't change yourself for everybody else. I
It's really
think,
important.
yeah, don't change yourself for everybody else. There was a child in our school actually for a couple years who, as a boy, grew his hair out and wore a skirt to school. And, the school really embraced it. And I think that was the way that was brilliant. Whereas, in Nikki's case, when I was talking about her parents cut her ponytail when she was, so when she was little, she'd grown out her hair and put it in a ponytail, and someone cut it off. So I think if you're a girl that's a tomboy like I was, don't force the girl to wear a dress. Don't force the boy to wear, trousers. If the boy wants to wear a skirt, or if the girl wants to wear trousers, then you just do it and you let them do it, and you equip them with the tools, to help them deal with it. And I think, hopefully they're in environments which are supportive, but I think it's don't change yourself for anybody else, and recognize who you are. Really get to know who you are early on, because the more you know who you are, the more that will shape that'll shape your future.
Yes, I think that's really important. So if in terms of giving a message to your daughter, you told us that, but what about your son? Because obviously we need to make sure that we're educating our sons, hopefully in the same way as we are our daughters, to make sure that there is equality in their future lives. So what message would you give to your son?
Well, I'm really lucky because my husband is extremely involved at home. He was way back in 2012 when his job ended. He was sort of home, and we had 2 and 3-year-olds around, and he was looking for a new job, but it wasn't coming right away. And so we had a period of time where we were sort of all at home. And luckily for me, he got really involved in the house stuff. So he started doing the laundry, and he started helping with like the food and the kitchen and shopping and things like that. And really, I've been very lucky because my son's had a male role model who's been very involved in the house. And I could not have, I didn't realize when I was getting married that was going to happen, because you have no idea who you're marrying, what they're going to be like when you have kids, in terms of, really, you don't know who you're marrying, because it's a lifetime of marriage, right? And a lot of people, I remember when the kids were really little, looking at myself in the mirror going, oh, that was a big decision. I've got 2 kids and a husband. I'm like committed to them for the rest of my life. Now I've got a cat and a dog, so I'm committed to all of them for the rest of their lives, and my life. But I think one of the things I'm really grateful for is a husband who helps out at home. But I have to say, I also asked him to. There was a period of time where he was gone half of the year for 2 years. The first 2 years of their life, he was gone 50% of the time. So a lot of it fell onto me, and I was very grateful that the church had people in the church that were always helping me and coming to my house, and they'd look after the kids while I'd make dinner and all that stuff. But I did a lot on my own for the first 2 years. And so when he was home and when that dynamic shifted, I was really, really grateful. But I also asked him to help. I don't. did help voluntarily, but I really sort of gave him the opportunity to. I saw a lot of women that didn't let their husbands help, like that
Right.
really took their kids and wouldn't let their husbands change the diaper, wouldn't let the husbands, like they really kind of hovered over their kids and didn't let their husbands get involved. And I was determined not to be that type of a woman. And I think letting men know that their help is needed. My husband's a much better chef than I am, a much better cook than I am. His food is amazing. And he's got a whole routine at the grocery store. If I go to the grocery store, I'm there for like 3 hours trying to find everything. If he goes in there, he's in and out in 45 minutes. He knows where everything is. So one of the books I highly recommend is Fair Play. And it's a really good book. And it talks about looking at the jobs and responsibilities of people in the home, and then people taking full responsibility for something.
Right.
And regularly having those conversations, and just saying, she's got a section in the book where she talks about all the grunge tasks, the tasks that someone's got to do, but not everyone wants to do them. And looking at the balance of that and recognizing that sometimes one person in the house has more of those sort of grunge tasks than other people. And so I think one of the things that we had to do later on, when my husband was sort of doing everything and I wasn't doing anything, was we had to rebalance it. So for my son, I think it's to say, look, you've got a bright future ahead of you. But how do we make you a person? How do we encourage you to be a person who's helpful around the house? And I think the best example of that has been his father being that way and showing him what's possible. He cooks with me, and he cooks with Tim. Like whenever I make risotto, he's like my go-to. He comes and he helps me make it, and he likes to help Tim cook as well. So I think, just getting boys involved in tasks that are predominantly female tasks, getting them
Yes.
involved in it makes a huge difference. And that's, I would just encourage. And also with my son in particular, he's very artsy. He loves drama. He is playing the drums. He's doing shooting and judo. He's doing all these different things. And it's really helping him to lean into stuff. If he's into art, encouraging him to do art. If he's into music, encouraging him to do music. And not saying he's got to be he's got to do it this way or that way or this way, but just letting him sort of find his own way, as we do with my daughter as well.
Yeah. And what about families that don't have that male role model in that way? What would you say to them, or single parents out there who have got sons and daughters? What like piece of advice could you give them?
That's a really great piece of advice, because we have a lot of single moms at Tech Pixies. I think the women that I know that are single moms, what they have done is they've established some men in their children's lives that are like really long-term friends, almost like uncles or godfathers, and just getting them involved. And I think that's been one way to do that, for people who are single parents, is giving them exposure to healthy relationships with men that might not be a romantic partner with the mother, but just a long-term, because that's the other thing too. As a single parent, you might date someone and then break up, and then date someone and break up, and you may or may not introduce them to your child. But I think having some long-term friends that can be really, could be great role models. A lot of us have those long-term friends. Tim and I have 2 or 3 couples that we've known for 20 years, and that we can spend time with, and we know that the kids are going to get really good role model exposure. So I would say that would be the way you would do it if you were a single parent. Now, I'm not a single parent, so there's probably better advice out there, but the single parents I've seen in Tech Pixies who've done this well have done it by exposing them to people that they have healthy relationships with, that they have long-term relationships with, and that have a genuine interest and care in the child.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds good advice. Okay, a bit more of a fun question. Which woman, dead or alive, would you most like to meet?
Oh my gosh, dead or alive.
Yeah.
Okay. I have so many. Well, I have a poster next to my desk of women that I would like to meet one day. And they're all still alive, so I can tell you who they are. If I could meet someone that's not alive anymore, I would say Mother Teresa would be someone I would just love to spend time with. Really, it would be amazing to just spend some time with her. I was thinking as well, I would love to meet Mary Magdalene, going way, way back. So I think those are 2 women that I would really, really love to meet. And then the women I'd love to meet that are alive. So I've got them on a poster. So I've got Oprah, of course.
Oprah,
and,
yes.
Yeah. And I wouldn't dish out all the dirt on my family, though.
No, not a good idea.
But Oprah, I would Michelle Obama, I would
Yes,
absolutely.
she'd be on mine.
Oh gosh, I would just love to, I mean, can you imagine sitting at a lunch table with Oprah and Michelle? I would just be like, I don't know what I would do. I wouldn't be able to say anything. I would just listen. And then also uh, the Duchess of Cambridge, which now is she the Princess of Wales?
Yes.
I would really love to spend some time with her. I think she understands. So much of the mental health issues that children are facing, and I understand so much of the mental health issues that women are facing. And I think if we can help children, it's amazing. But if we can help the women raising those children, it's even better. So I think that would be an amazing conversation to have, where we could discuss how to support the women looking after children, whether they're carers or mothers or grandmothers or great aunties or whatever, but how we can support the women as well as the children. So I think, and also she loves photography and gardens, and I love both of those. I'm not a great photographer and I'm not a great gardener, but I have so much respect for people who do. So, and then Reese Witherspoon. Oh, I would love to meet
that's a
her.
good one.
She's such
Yes,
a powerhouse.
she is. That's a great one, actually.
Yeah, Reese
Okay.
Witherspoon. And then of course Jamie Kern Lima. I would love to meet Jamie
Okay.
Kern Lima. She built the company It Cosmetics and sold it to L'Oreal for $1 billion. She was the first female CEO of L'Oreal. I mean, can you believe L'Oreal's been around for hundreds of years and never had a female CEO? So I
That's
would love to
amazing.
meet
Yeah.
her. And I mean, I've read so many amazing books. I'd love to meet Shonda Rhimes, who wrote The Year of Yes and also built the Grey's Anatomy series. She seems
Oh, she's brilliant as well. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
And
good one.
and then Madam C.J. Walker, who actually is someone who's not alive anymore. She developed a hair product and was the first female millionaire, regardless of racial background. She was the first female millionaire in the United States. And and there was a great series that was done. I think Octavia Spencer starred in it on Netflix, and so I watched that and loved that. And she overcame so much. So yeah, I mean, can you imagine that party? That would be a great party.
Well, actually, that's my next question. Which 5 women would you invite to a dinner party? So I'm not sure how I think you might have said more than 5 there. So can you narrow it down?
Oh my goodness. Okay, no,
No.
oh,
maybe a lot living ones, because they might be able to come.
Well, and then Blakely, Sarah, I think it's Sarah Blakely. She's the Spanx person.
Yeah.
Well, and Eleanor Roosevelt, I'd invite Eleanor Roosevelt as well. So I think Eleanor Roosevelt, Michelle Obama, that would be really interesting. Oprah would be awesome to have at that table. Reese Witherspoon, I just have to go back to her. I just absolutely, I mean, really love her. And then yeah, I don't know. The 5th one would be really hard. Mother Teresa.
Oh, we'll bring her back. We'll bring her back.
Bring her back from the dead. Bring her back. I'd go with that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great dinner party. I'm sure you will have lots of other people who want to come and attend that one. So who do you think has been the most influential woman in history?
The most influential woman in history. Well, I mean, the Virgin Mary.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
I think she's been pretty influential. I think yeah, probably I would say she's one of the most influential women in history for sure. It's interesting because it's sort of like the butterfly effect. You also have these things that have happened that people aren't aware of, like Ada Lovelace and the contributions she made to early coding through mathematics. You've got so many people that almost the people don't even know about that made a contribution. So, in terms of someone who's influenced, billions of people, millions and billions of people, then, obviously the Virgin Mary is one of them. And what's interesting about that story, and of course, no one really knows what happened. But what's interesting about that story is that, that Jesus, if you're a Christian, that he kind of came to an unwed mother, if that makes sense, and I, came through an unwed mother. Now,
Mm.
Obviously the Bible story is that she was pregnant through holy divinity, and we don't know if she was or she wasn't. There's no, we have no way of knowing that. But what's significant is that that she came through Jesus came through Mary, and she was not wed, and she was so that's a really important part of that story that I think a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
And regardless of what we know happened or didn't happen, Jesus was an incredibly influential person, and he wouldn't have lived or existed if it weren't for Mary. So,
Yeah.
it's the combination of this male female counterpart. She was the female counterpart, he was the male counterpart. Obviously mother son, but there's very powerful feminine and masculine energies that came out of that relationship, that combination, and both of those have had a massive influence on humanity. So, I'm grateful and I know not everyone here in Tech Pixies and everyone who's listening to this is a Christian, but I'm grateful to have had the exposure to both of them throughout my childhood and adulthood, because the traits and characteristics that they brought to the world, and the gifts that they've given to the world, and the inspiration they've given to the world is pretty impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not the answer I was expecting you to say, but that's a really good answer. What about right now? Who do you think is a really one of the most influential women in the world right now? And again, it doesn't have to be, like you say, someone so famous. And I think International Women's Day is about celebrating some of those women who have made massive inroads in business, science, or just women empowerment or anything like that, but not necessarily the most famous person or the most well known. So I think it's we need to bring those stories and those people to light, and you obviously have a whole wealth of knowledge behind that, so there's something you can share about that.
Yeah, well, I think the challenge is there's just not enough women in these positions, right? So you've got Jamie Kern-Lima, who finally became the CEO of one of the L'Oreal companies, but they've got hundreds of brands under L'Oreal, right? You've got politics, but it took forever we still haven't had a female president of the United States. I mean, it's 2023.
We were close.
We still don't have a female president, and that just blows my mind. And the women who do make it to the top, they've got to fight to get there, and they it's really survival of the fittest to get to the top, and then they get worn out.
Yes,
they get destroyed. And so one of the challenges we've got is that you've got women who, to get to the top, it's a huge fight. So there's just not enough women at the top. I mean, I go back to Oprah, talk about influence. She got sued by the beef industry because she told them she was never going to eat she said out loud, "I'm never going to eat a hamburger again." And then the beef industry sued her because it had a negative impact on their sales. Right?
Wow.
And the other thing too is you look at women who have massive influence on Instagram and on TikTok, Kardashians, massive influence. Now, my daughter last night, we were talking about birthday parties, and I'm not even following what the Kardashians are doing, but she said, "Oh, well, when I have a daughter," and she just had her birthday. So when I have a daughter, I'm going to have her have a birthday just like Kylie Jenner just had for her daughter. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like this is what we're set. This is the influence, right? And to be honest, they've built huge empires. They're not stupid women. They're very clever women, and they've leveraged what they're
good at. Yes.
Yeah. They've leveraged what they have to build huge businesses, and those businesses are creating financial freedom for themselves and their family. Right now, there's articles about people that work for them that don't get paid properly or get paid, barely enough to cover their expenses. And it's like an honor and a privilege to work with them. I don't know if there's truth to that or not, but my point is that we have to be really careful about who we think is influential. They're certainly powerful women. They certainly have millions and millions and millions of followers. They certainly can influence things. But it's a question of really, what's the bigger picture? And for me, someone who is really influential now and is making a huge difference and has this bigger picture, vision is a woman who steps up and takes off her invisibility cloak and stands up for what's right and changes things. You know, the minimum wage was introduced by a woman. The shifts 9 to 5, that was introduced by a woman. Mandatory time off introduced by a woman. No one knows her name, right? But all of those three things were introduced by women. There's things every day that influence our life that were mentioned, that were pushed by women whose names will never be heard. So, you know, for me, it's not that I want to, you know, slack off the Kardashians. Like I said, they're extremely intelligent. They're extremely resourceful. They have built empires leveraging what they've got. But what I want girls to see is I want them to see more CEOs. I want them to see more politicians, right? And, you know, women like Jacinda Ardern and, you know, other women who stand up and take those places of power and use them and leverage them to make the world a better place. The problem is when they get into those positions, they get completely torn apart. And that makes it really hard for other women to want to step up and do it.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. But
I don't know that I have a great answer for this question, but
I think it's really interesting because they reach that top position, and why do women get torn down quicker, or, you know, why do we feel that we get that way? Is it because we also, you know, dealing with families and things like that? It's a really big conversation, that, I think. But also I think with social media, I think it's really hard and it's challenging for us as parents to make sure that what our children are seeing are the types of influences that we want them to see to improve the world, to make the world, you know, more equal for them. So it's very, very hard with the social media influencers that are obviously, like you say, have leveraged their talents and doing really well. But then you've got CEOs and politicians who are carrying on doing their work, but they might not be on those platforms as heavily as, you know, the celeb type of influencers. So it's tricky, that one, I think.
Well, and I, you know, like a good example in the UK is Pregnant Then Screwed, right? So they are campaigning for women who, you know, get pregnant and then get made redundant, and they're helping women prepare to fight those battles. And again, you know, they're doing the work behind the scenes. They're taking it to courts. They're taking it to the politicians. They're fighting it. You know, but I saw a picture of them and they were talking to, you know, they were talking to a whole room of white men who just don't understand the problem, but they're fighting it anyway every single day. So I think the woman that influences me the most in 2023 is the woman who doesn't give up on her dream of making the world a better place and fights day in and day out for that. And, you know, that's something I aspire to do. I know Pregnant Then Screwed is doing that. I know, you know, Mother Pucka's doing that.
Yes.
So, you know, that's what it, you know, and I know, you know, women who are standing up, you know, for, I mean, talk LGBTQ plus rights, BAME rights, like, you know, anyone who's putting on the armor every day and fighting the battle to make the world a better place, they don't give up. They just keep going, whether it's for, you know, invisible illness or neurodiversity or, you know, whatever it is. It's that to me is, and there's an army of them out there, and they're working silently and quietly and hard in the background to make this happen. And some of them are talking about it. Some of them are shouting about it. That's what I'm trying to do at Tech Pixies, is get people to take off that invisibility cloak and to really stand up for what they want and to really get that movement going so that we can make a change. Because, you know, parity still is like 99 years away or something ridiculous. And then I think when COVID hit, parity dropped like another 30 years. So it went from being 99 years to get parity to now 129 years to get parity. So those are the real heroes of today, the women who stand up for the changes that need to be made and fight for them every day, even when they think that they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, even when it's dark and deep and hard.
And
I know what that feels like.
I think, and this is why I think Women's Day is really good, because I think it does really help us to bring those people to light, to, you know, share those stories and inspire each other. So that's, next question I have is, who would you like to be for a day?
Oh my gosh. Who would I like to be for a day? That's a really good question. I'd love to be Michelle Obama for a day. I am just such a, you know, to I've read all of her books, which she's read, 2 really great books, but Becoming was such an introduction to a life I never knew. And and obviously being in the White House and everything else would, just be incredible. And I think she's probably the closest living person to what it would be like to be in the White House in modern day, and just experience that, and in other things. I think obviously if the Queen was still alive, I think it would be amazing to spend a day in the Queen's shoes, what that would be like. I don't know if I'd enjoy that or not. But I'd love to spend a day up at Balmoral, living her life,
Yeah.
just for a day, what that would be like. That's someone as well that I would have loved to invite to that table.
Yeah, she was on my list.
Yeah, although I suspect she's quite reserved, so getting her to actually open up might be a challenge.
Well,
but
putting her with Oprah might help. So you never know.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, no, that could be a bit dodgy.
Not true these days.
Yeah, maybe not now. Okay. And when you were younger, what did you want to be? What did you think you were?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I do know the answer to this. I wanted to be a missionary. Probably why I surprised you with my answer of Jesus and Mary. No, I wanted to be a missionary originally. And then and my parents weren't huge fans of that. I think they thought that road was quite narrow, and that, and it is, I think realistically, I work with women from all different backgrounds, from all different faiths, from all different religions. Some people who don't have religion, but, want to find that transformation anyway. Because a lot of transformation originally came through religion, and now it's coming through other forms. But I think, that was the initial plan, was to be a missionary. And then I switched to wanting to be an art teacher. And then I wanted to be a ballerina at one point. And then I wanted to be a choreographer slash dance teacher. And then as I got older, I didn't want to do anything with business, actually, nothing to do with business. I thought I was going to go into the foreign service, and I was going to work. I loved traveling. I went to France for a year when I was 15. I went to Switzerland later on when I got married. I think I thought I would, apologies. I think I thought I would be some sort of an ambassador, or, work for the Foreign Office for the US. I don't think it's called the Foreign Office, but I would work in, foreign service. And that's what I thought I was going to do. And my dad would have liked it if I'd gone and worked for the Fed. He was a big fan of Alan Greenspan, and, and I was doing economics, so he was really into that. And really what I ended up doing was working in the stock market initially. And that sort of sucked the life out of me. So while I was working on the stock market, I ended up sort of volunteering coaching at a local archery club. And I was also doing archery, and I tried to make the Olympics as an archer. So, becoming an Olympian was one of the things I wanted to do. And
that's a great one.
And I just,
great goal.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're all great goals, whatever goal you go for, you just got to pick one and go for it and try it out, and I tried out for 3 Olympic teams. I didn't make any of them. I tried out for 2004, 2008, and 2012. And I was 6th in the country, 5th in the country. And then I got injured and couldn't, finish the last trials very well. But, I tried, I tried. Yes. And I went for it. And, but I think the thing that I never gave up on was thinking of things that lit me up, right? The question is, what lights you up? And then you go for that. The thing that lights you up, you go for that. And, and so, that's changed over the years, one of the dreams was to become a mom and a wife. And I gave up archery in order to do that, on purpose. Like, I quit archery with a definite, clear mission of getting married and having kids. And within 2 years, I was married and had kids. So, I that was a goal of mine. And I became an accidental entrepreneur. But now that I am an entrepreneur, finishing that is important to me. Having a successful, profitable company that changes lives, that's really important to me. So, that's where my focus and attention is now. There's a part of me that also wanted to be a politician one day. My husband says I'm too honest for politics, which is probably,
you never know, it could still happen.
Gonna have to grow a really thick skin. But maybe one day I'll venture down the politician route. Just need to get myself financially secure first so that I can focus on other things. without having to worry about the finances.
Yeah.
And for me, politicians, they really are amazing if they can stick it out. It's not an easy road, but
No.
that eventually, that's probably further down on the dream, the vision board. I'd also like
Well,
to read a
actually,
book.
that's actually really interesting because you're talking about goals. Because actually, this morning my daughter asked me when I told her I was going to be asking you questions to ask you. She's 10, and they're learning about goal setting at school. Have you achieved all of your goals, or do you have more? So you've sort of answered that question.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to look at your life like a compilation of dreams, right? So you've got your vision for your life is what it feels like as those dreams are starting to happen. 99% of people just go through life by default. And what we want you to do is go through life with a design, right? In mind. And the way you do that is the vision is that feeling that it all worked out. It's the feeling that you're living your best life. It's the feeling that you love your life. And that's a really important feeling to figure out how to get, because it doesn't come easily and naturally to humans. So what we want to be doing is we want to be setting goals and finding dreams. And when I say find dreams, they're already in us. The dreams are already there. They're in our heart. We know they're there, but we don't ever listen to them. We don't ever open up to them. So, I run something called the Vision Workshop, where I invite women for 3 hours to just sit in that question, what would I love? And we talk about fear and failure, and we talk about the stumbling blocks, and we talk about how to move through those stumbling blocks, and how to take action, and what the signs are that you're going in the right direction, the 3Ds. So I do all of that because I want women to stop living by default, and I want them to start living by design. And I want them to really design those dreams. What are those dreams? And I've had many, many dreams. Even over the last couple of years, getting a dog was a dream of ours. Getting a camper van was a dream of ours. Working with Jeff Walker was a dream of mine. There's all sorts of different dreams that we have. And the goal is that we take action steps towards those. And so that's really important to me, is that we realize there's a vision for our life. That is that feeling of it all worked out. I love my life. I'm so grateful for all the things in it. And that along the way, until we feel like that, we're making all of these dreams. And then even when we feel like that, we're going to have longing and discontent that drives more dreams. So I really look at our life as a compilation of all the dreams, and we take one dream at a time. And just work through it. And some are going to work and some aren't going to work, but you're going to learn something from every dream you chase.
Okay. I think I will relay that message back to my 10-year-old. A last question. What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Oh gosh. Well, I'm proud of not giving up. I've traced a lot of dreams in my life, and some of them have worked out and some of them haven't. And I don't let the failure from one failed dream stop me from moving forward on to another one. And that's what I'm most proud of, is just not giving up. When things got tough, I identified what I needed to do to make it better, and then I did it, and that's important to me. And again, sometimes dreams don't work out, but you put your best foot forward. Oh, I've got to you put your best foot forward and you do everything you can. Sorry. You put your best foot forward and you do everything you can to make that dream become a reality. And if it doesn't, then you move on. So I think being able to not giving up, and then being able to reset myself when things haven't worked out and start with a new idea and keep going is the next thing that I do. That's probably really important for what I'm most proud of. But of course, I'm proud of my children. I'm proud of my marriage. I'm proud of the family life we've built. I'm grateful for my parents, and I have and had 4 parents. So I have lots of parents. I'm grateful for them and for their influence. So, I'm proud of the fact that I have built a life by design that is beautiful, that I love. And, that even in the messy middle, I'm grateful for the people in my life that support me and encourage me and to help me to keep going, even when it's tough and I don't want to do that. So I think it's a combination of what am I proud of and what am I grateful for?
Yeah. And I mean, I have to say that I know I speak on behalf of all the Tech Pixies. You are a wonderful support to us all, and I have learned personally so much from you about all these, not giving up, building your dreams, your vision, and keep going, resilience, and also consciously choosing to live life by design rather than default. I was one of those people living by default. And now that's what I'm, through Tech Pixies and you, I am pulling myself out of that to be a bit more a designed life. And also that's what I want to teach my children. So I have learned so much from you and Tech Pixies. So I thank you for that. And every day when I speak to you or hear your messages on Tech Pixies, I learn something all the time. So you're doing amazing work for women, for families, for women is just incredible. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for doing this interview today. I so appreciate you. It was your idea and it's been a really fun morning. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye for
Bye.
now.